you don't want to give it everything you've got at the beginning because that leaves you nowhere to go. Music is very much a journey. You know, both our worship sets are a journey to get to God, but each song is also a journey. Um, and so you don't want to start out in this big moment um, because then there's no really place to go but down. So you kind of want to start out somewhat softer. I would say maybe some like I call it maybe traditional contemporary music. Maybe is more of a flat level, but I think a lot of the CCM stuff really goes up that hill and then drops maybe even back down, and then like what a God. It was kind of I would say if you were thinking about it as a hill, you're gonna start way down the valley, and then you kind of get up to this first hill, and it's like I'm almost there, but then like you just fall right back down, and then it just builds up and builds up and builds up, and then now you're on a higher mountain. Um, and so it's really much a journey through your playing, and and so you want to build. I would say I've noticed this has kind of been a common theme for many years now. But the first verse and the first chorus are usually pretty low, and then on that second verse, the groove kicks in, and so by the groove I mean like a lot of times the groove is in 4/4 we're going to be on the 2 and the 4, so this would be the groove of the song 1, 2, 3, 4. But we maybe didn't start out there. Maybe we start with 2, 3, 4, 1, and we play that whole thing. Maybe add a little more toms in the chorus. We played that through the verse, and then now verse 2 kicks in. That works really well on songs, especially like "How Great Is Our God," right? So we maybe start out the spring. We go to the chorus. How great. But then verse 2. Now we're in the groove. So that's just a common pattern I noticed, and I wanted to point out. Because if you don't know what to play, sometimes let's just say you were playing a song completely fresh, you never heard it, and it didn't feel like it was just going to be like a song like "What a God," where it's just builds all the way to the bridge. But you might kick in the groove on that second verse, and that's a pretty safe move. The other thing with dynamics and being a drummer, you have a very powerful position because you can really lead the band through this journey, through your playing. You can do that in ways by like playing a drum fill. Playing a drum fill can kind of go both ways. It can take it up a notch, or it can bring it down. And so that really just depends on how you play that. You might could bring it down as well by signifying, hey, I'm going to do this big cymbal swell to bring it down. You could do a big crash hit to bring it up, right? It's a big fill. We're starting here. Kind of did that on like "How Great Is Our God," And that drum fill signifies, hey, I'm going to go somewhere with this. So really, as the drummer, you have a lot of power in that, like of being able to lead the song. But that also means, right, with great power comes great responsibility, right? So you got to be careful with that. It's like maybe the worship leader was really wanting to bring that up, and then you did this crazy thing and brought it down, or vice versa. And so the other thing too about that, always keep your eyes on the worship leader, whoever that may be. You can oftentimes read their body language. even if they don't know it. If they're moving a lot, that usually means they want to either take it up or keep it up. Um, you kind of notice like hands down is a very common sign for like, hey, let's bring it down here. But yeah, and then as you play with the worship leader more and more, you'll start to kind of like be able to read their body language. So even if you practice something and you feel like their body language is telling you something different, if you're pretty sure, probably go with that. If you're not sure, go with probably what you practiced. But yeah, that's just some helpful tips. So be a leader on the drums. Dynamics will take you through a journey, so use that to your advantage, right? Take the congregation through the journey as you play the song. I have another song example for that. In this song, it's House of Miracles, and one thing about it kind of really starts out with, and I'd say this is another common thing of worship songs these days. Starts out with more of a tom groove, and then after the bridge is when we actually get into the full groove. And by the full groove I just mean like where the snare's on the 2 and the 4. And so here's maybe what that sounds like. Try to listen and see like where that groove shift changes. And here we go. This one also starts out kind of soft, so we'll start there. I'm going to do a drum fill to bring it up. Cool. And then yeah, so finally got to the groove. But you can obviously see like it took a long while to get there. Um, a few other things with that particular song. Um, there's a couple of tom grooves in there. But some of the key differences is like that first one. Only playing the snare every other measure, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the next time around, playing it on the 4 of every measure, and adding a few more toms. That kind of differentiates them just slightly, but is just a small next level to go, since you're there for a while. But yeah, and then just it worked really well, just doing a swell to bring it down. You're moving, I still believe. So that's a great way to bring it down. And then taking out the kick. If you notice where the kick was in that song, that really helped progress the build or bring it down. So when in the down moments, not playing the kick, and then bringing it in. Maybe even you could have gone. Sometimes this is a cool trick to put the kick on the 2 and the 4. So I still believe. And then, the next one, then you can bring it on 4 on the floor and bring in the snare, right? So that's another practical tip, of something to do, a way to build the song at some different levels. The other thing I say about dynamics, a lot of guys say, like, never get to that 100%. Because if you get to the 100%, now you're maxed out. Like, and if the worship leader wants to take it up to that next level, then where do you go? So always try to like reserve some. I mean, eventually you might get to, so if you've held back for a long time and then, the worship leader wants to take it up, it's like, okay, I'm going to go to my 100% now. So always try to like reserve a little bit for your max ceiling. That will always just kind of let you think. Also, like, think of those smaller steps. Like, how do I take this up but not reach the max, right? And so that's especially helpful at altar calls. I find that like you kind of expect an altar call song to go for a long time. So maybe, unless you're just gonna do a certain arrangement, but I find that rarely happens. I'll probably start out and keep it at that lower level for a little longer, and then like even more slowly bring it up, because if you bring it up too quick, then you're there, and it's almost hard to bring it back down when you start out too high. The other thing I'll say about dynamics, you really want to shift, if you are going to shift levels up or down, try to do that at the the end of a section. So like the chorus verse is a section. You don't really want to shift levels inside of a section, unless like like on this song, the vocals do shift up in like halfway through the bridge. So that might be okay to do it in like halfway through the bridge. But you especially don't want to bring it down halfway through a section. If you're playing your ride and your snare through the first half, it can sound jarring then to like switch back to the hi-hat. That would be kind of bringing it down. Let me demonstrate that. If that was halfway through the chorus, it's like, whoa, what just happened there? So the other thing I'll say about that, because sometimes you have an idea in your mind of like what the song should do, but for some reason your hands just do whatever, and like now you're bigger than you were expecting to be. It's probably better if you just stay there. Don't try to like take it back down, because like you're just gonna jar the song. So I'd say that, because that happens sometimes. It's like, I messed up. It's okay. It's not the end of the world.